This is my second video from Forrest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale. If you haven't seen the first part, please check that out after seeing this video. And we've got the grave of Errol Flynn here, Australian-born actor. Born in Tasmania in 1909, he is best remembered for The Adventures of Robin Hood in 1938. Other notable films he starred in were Captain Blood in 1935, The Charge of the Light Brigade in 1936, and Dodge City in 1939. He was a heavy drinker, and when banned on set from drinking, he would inject oranges with vodka and eat them during his breaks. By the 1940s, he was also an opium addict. He was charged with statutory rape in 1942, but he was acquitted during his trial. He suffered a number of health issues due to his smoking, drinking and opium addiction. Due to financial difficulties, he travelled to Vancouver, Canada in October 1959 to sell his yacht. Whilst he was there, he died from heart and liver issues. He was buried with 6 bottles of whiskey. And he actually once remarked that he hated Glendale, and now he's buried here. His final words were reported to be, "I shall return." Errol Flynn's only son, Sean Flynn, followed his father into acting, but retired by the mid-60s. He became a photojournalist for Time magazine. Whilst in Cambodia in 1970, he and a fellow journalist were captured by the Khmer Rouge and were believed to have been executed. Their remains were never found. You've got the grave of Walt Disney here. There's an urban legend that he was buried somewhere in the grounds of Disneyland, but he was actually cremated 2 days after his death, and his ashes are buried here in Forrest Lawn. Walt Disney holds the record for the most Academy Awards with 22 wins. In addition, he won 3 honorary Academy Awards. He disliked being called Mr. Disney and would insist that his employees called him by his first name. He was a chain-smoking workaholic, but he would never be seen smoking in public. He died on December 15th, 1966, at the age of 65. Garden of Everlasting Peace. We've got Spencer Tracy here. It's in this section here. The grave of actor Spencer Tracy is often mentioned alongside Laurence Olivier and Marlon Brando as one of the greatest movie actors of all time. He and Laurence Olivier are the only 2 actors to receive 9 nominations for the Academy Award for Best Actor. Some of his best-known films include Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Inherit the World and Judgment Day at Nuremberg. Although he was married, he entered a long-term relationship with Katharine Hepburn, which lasted from 1941 until his death 26 years later. He starred in 9 films with Hepburn. On the morning of October 16, 1967, he suffered a heart attack whilst making a cup of coffee. It was Katharine Hepburn who found him dead on the kitchen floor. He was 67 years old. William Wyler, director, 3-time Academy Award winner. He directed Roman Holiday, starring Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck. He was a very successful director. Betty Davies said that Wyler had made her a far, far better actress. Laurence Olivier, who was a major stage actor, credited Wyler with teaching him how to act on film. And he also directed Ben-Hur and Wuthering Heights, and also How to Steal a Million, starring Audrey Hepburn again. He died following a heart attack in 1980 at the age of 79. And next to him is his brother, Robert Wyler. Robert Wyler was the older brother of William Wyler. He wrote the screenplay for the Detective Story, which was directed by his brother. He was an assistant producer on many of his brother's films, including on Roman Holiday. He died in 1971 at the age of 70. And next to Robert Wyler is Cathy O'Donnell, his wife. She was in the 1951 film The Detective Story alongside Kirk Douglas, and played the part of Tirsa in the 1959 film Ben-Hur. Her final work was in a 1964 episode of Bonanza. She died in 1970 after a long battle with cancer. She was only 46 when she died. Clayton Moore started out in B-movies through the 40s, but in 1949 he was Zorro in the film Ghost of Zorro, and this led to him winning the part of the Lone Ranger in the television show. He was the Lone Ranger from 1949 till 1952, when he was fired over a pay dispute. He was replaced by Jack Hart for 1 year before fans demanded his return. He returned to the show and continued in the part until its end in 1957. Clayton Moore died in December 1999 at the age of 85. I used to love watching Zorro when I was a kid. Do you remember the amazing tornado scene in The Wizard of Oz? Well, the man who created that, his cremated remains are in this section. Arnold Ggispie, known as Buddy. He created special effects for MGM from 1925 until 1962. He was responsible for the special effects on The Wizard of Oz, including the impressive tornado, which was made out of a long windsock. He died in May 1978 at the age of 78. The grave of Frank Elbam, born in New York State in 1856. He wrote children's books, and one of them was The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. He made numerous attempts to bring his work to the screen. Sadly, he died in 1919, 20 years before his book was made into the 1939 classic The Wizard of Oz. He died as a result of a stroke, and his final words were, "Now we can cross the shifting sands." He was 62 years old when he died. As you can see, some people are being here, leaving various things. A car, unusual. That's a unicorn, I guess. So we can thank this man for the film The Wizard of Oz. Mitchell Lewis, born in Syracuse, New York in 1880. He worked steadily for 40 years, from 1914 up until his death in 1956. He was in the silent version of Ben-Hur. Most of his talkie films were small, uncredited parts. But in The Wizard of Oz, he was the captain of the Winky Guards. He's the one who cries, "Hail to Dorothy, the witch is dead." In 1946, he had a small part in The Harvey Girls, reuniting with Judy Garland and Ray Bolger, who played the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. Mitchell Lewis was 76 when he died. If you're new to the channel, or if you're somebody who watches the channel but haven't subscribed as yet, please do so. It's completely free to subscribe. I've made a video previously about the legendary actor James Stewart, star of Rear Window and Vertigo, and of course the Christmas film It's a Wonderful Life. I'll finish the video today by revisiting his grave. James Maitland Stewart, May 20th, 1908, till July 2nd, 1997. Now, because he was a high-ranking officer in the army, he could have been buried in a military cemetery, but I guess he chose to be buried here because he wanted to be buried next to his wife, who was right here. Gloria Stewart, March 10th, 1918 till February 16th, 1994.